Yo, what's up? What's going on? What's good? Yeah, that's right. This is the Boxing Source checking in. Um, Pretty much a impromptu report here, as received a note or notice of the numbers for the fight that happened last weekend between Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. Apparently, it was a huge success there. I know that there's been posts out there from Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, in reference to the amount of money they reportedly received for this fight. You know, um, and maybe the numbers kind of match up. I'm not uh, pretty much 100% on that as far as like how the pay-per-view things work when it comes to the zone. But given what happened over the course of the week leading into this particular fight, that generated a lot of interest in this bout. And what ended up happening was the fight ended up getting over a million pay-per-view buys, but not just over a million. It ended up being at 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. That is the report that I received. Pretty much came through two people within the business that it became 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. We had, of course, Ryan Garcia doing what he was doing in order to promote the fight, in order to boost the fight. And I guess, what happened within those couple of days had a lot of eyes towards Ryan Garcia and what he would be potentially doing against Devin Haney. And I think the odds also played a factor in it, as well as, you had Devin Haney going into the fight as a significant favorite, but you still had Ryan Garcia with the amount of attention that he had to see if he could, pretty much, overcome those odds. And of course, as you've seen, he ended up doing that. And because of that, you had a lot of people going in, and like I was saying, I think what happened with the result of the fight and what was going on, particularly within the first round, kind of got people to rush to jump in and purchase the pay-per-view and see what was going on, you know. And with it being a report of 1.5 million pay-per-view buys for this particular fight, that makes it a huge success for both fighters, particularly for Ryan Garcia. Of course, you know what happened with Ryan Garcia a year ago when he fought Tank Davis. That particular bout had reported 1.2 million pay-per-view buys for that event, and now with this, kind of being at 1.5, hey, maybe that that changes things in reference to Ryan Garcia and his overall appeal to the sport of boxing. And for some people, they say, hey, maybe Ryan Garcia, even, especially with this win over Devin Haney, that he could be the new face of boxing. He could be the new face of boxing. Goes 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's what I was, just saying, man. If you have him there at 1.2 against Tank, and then now reported 1.5 here against Devin Haney, could be a Ryan Garcia's new pay-per-view king. I mean, look at what's been happening over the past few years when it comes to overall pay-per-view buys. You haven't seen it go over 1 million in a while, but here we have, within the course of what, one calendar year, Ryan Garcia, when he fought Tank Davis, lost to Tank Davis, 1.2 million pay-per-view buys. And then now here against Devin Haney, 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. Shout out to Ghost123 on the chat here. Good question. Good question. Now this was kind of discussed a little bit in the Boxing Source midweek report on who Ryan Garcia could fight next. You say he wants a big fight. Now Ryan Garcia has, kind of like said a whole lot of stuff as far as like who he would want as potential opponents. Even some people kind of mention Errol Spence Jr., especially given the recent news with Errol Spence Jr. and trainer Derek James, right? So So that could be something that could really generate a lot of interest and a lot of pay-per-view buys, especially if it would take place over in Texas. But given the amount of success and the amount of money that Ryan Garcia has basically received, and of course what Errol Spence Jr. has received in the past, his past few fights, that fight won't happen in Texas. It would be in Las Vegas. Yeah, he did say he was moving up to 147 pounds, so that kind of like opens it up as for potential opponents. But like you said, if you want a big fight, it would be at 147. There really isn't that many options out there for those that are currently established at 147 pounds. So what this means is, given the amount of success that this particular fight had, you could see a rematch. You could see a rematch between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. Particularly, given the backstory, of course, of what happened leading into the fight and everything like that. Well, Ryan Garcia, kind of like said, hey, I'm going into this fight, and you know what? I'm not going to make 140 pounds. That was his plan. Like that was his plan all along, not to make 140 pounds, but just to go ahead and make sure the fight happens. And even with the whole side bet that went on between those two, it didn't really matter to Ryan Garcia. He just wanted to go in and have the fight against Devin Haney, and him, being able to do the performance or have the performance that he had, especially within those last 6 rounds there, that, pretty much like took the cake and had him get the majority decision win, you know, um, and hand Devin Haney his first loss. So that was, a big story, of course. Like I said, Haney was at the most a minus 1,000 favorite as of a couple of weeks or so before the fight. And then even during the fight, the live odds were having him at like plus, 800 or 850 after a few rounds. You know what I'm saying? So, there was that. You know what I'm saying? Um, he said Devin Haney, got beat down. Hey man, I'm telling you, he got beat down, but like I was saying, man, that was a strategic blunder by Devin Haney. I thought he was much better defensively. I thought he was much more sound defensively than what you saw. Shout out to Lance Meyer in the building. Yeah, man, what's going on? Just this impromptu live. What is it? Friday, Friday afternoon in the East Coast, Friday morning in the West Coast. I'm currently in the West Coast right now. Just about to, head back over to the East Coast here in a little bit. But just wanted to, get this out. Once again, Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia. The report is that particular bout had 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. Again, 1.5 million pay-per-view buys for Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia. And given that Ryan Garcia has now been the man that has had 2 consecutive one over or pay-per-views that have been over 1 million. That's more than, of course, that's more than what happened with Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. That's more than what happened with, Canelo and Jamel Charlo. Now, it'd be something if that's going to be more than what we're going to see here next Saturday as you have Canelo Alvarez versus Jaime Munguia. Now, if that doesn't get like 1 million plus, 1.5 million, now you're looking at Ryan Garcia being the number one man when it comes to pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? Street Science Examiner says Ryan versus Errol at 154 makes sense to me since Ryan, out of his own mouth, says 154 a weight that he wants to move up to sooner than later. Interesting comment there. Like Ghost was saying, after the fight, Ryan said that he was going to move up to 147. And even on Devin Haney's side, there was a lot of talk about him saying that he was going to move up to 147 pounds. I thought, that should have been his move. That should have been his move after his fight against Regis Prograis. Cutting down to that particular weight after you get to a certain point in your career, very difficult. So you want to go ahead and try to be at a weight where you're going to be comfortable at where you're fighting or trying to get down to. So For Dev, him being a champ, he wanted to go ahead and defend that WBC title there 140 pounds for this particular fight, but ended up being maybe a factor in his downfall or whatever it is. Because a lot of times, man, you just seen him get caught and he just really couldn't take those shots from a bigger man. But hey, strategically, he was really out of sorts in that fight against Ryan Garcia. But on this comment here from Sweet Science Examiner, 154. I mean that's an outside possibility. I mean we've kind of discussed it. If you go back to the midweek report that I had a couple of days ago, that was one possibility that we could see. Another one was like Ryan Garcia versus Manny Pacquiao. that would be that would be crazy if that would happen. But there's other possibilities there. 147 there, but given that it's Ryan Garcia and given now the amount of star power that he has, like fights against those guys currently at 147, the Jerome Boots in this fight, nah. Anybody else that's around that range, of course, you got Mario Barrios there that's supposed to be fighting here soon. You got Ian Stanionis with a world title out there. Nah, no. The only one that kind of like would be within that range of 147 is another guy that's not even at 147. I just named Devin Haney, but the other guy that could be potentially out there is Teofimo Lopez, and that's not it. Particularly with what Teofimo Lopez has recently been talking about, he could have been part of that card that's going to be taking place in Los Angeles, but he asked for too much money. And remember, this is the same Teofimo Lopez that turned down a fight with Ryan Garcia. That was supposed to take place around February. So now, what is he going to? If they approach Teofimo Lopez again for a potential fight against Ryan Garcia, how much would he ask for now? And would they even give it to him? I'm not all too sure about that. So that being said, that just opens the door here for Ryan Garcia to have a lot of potential matchups out there. And one other one that was kind of mentioned, but is now, I feel like it's out of the question at this point, is a rematch with Gervonta Tank Davis. That's out of the cards. If you're gonna have Ryan Garcia going up to 147 pounds, then that ain't happening. Tank ain't gonna do it. He says Ryan versus Dev rematch should be at 147 since both say they want to test themselves at that particular weight class. No better way to test how they feel at 147 than to break the bank once again. Hey, there you go. There you go. Have a rematch. Have it be around that welterweight, limit of 147 pounds. No catch weights, nothing like that. No 143, 144 catch weights. These guys are, have that particular frame to where they could, basically comfortably make 147 pounds. I know that they walk around at like probably 160 or something like that, 160 plus. We had that conversation in reference to Devin Haney when he had the fight against Regis Prograis, that he pretty much came into that fight at like 164 or 165 pounds. So, there you go. You know what I'm saying? Big ups to my guy, J Hardcore Boxing News. Yeah. Salute to you. Hashtag just boxing talk there. Yeah, this is a rarity here. Hardcore Boxing News. Currently I'm over in the West Coast. It is pretty much like 10:15, around 10:15 a.m. West Coast time. I'm pretty much in a transition of, going from West Coast to East Coast. So I'm doing this quick report here before I head over to that side. Now, once again, y'all, for those that are just coming in, the reports are out that the fight between Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia that was on the Zone pay-per-view received 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. That's right, 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. And yeah, I mean, I agree, Speed Science. 147, there will literally be no more excuses there for either fighter. No excuses for either one of them because this time, they could come in there comfortably. They don't have to worry about, weight cuts or anything like that, or at least, Devin Haney wouldn't have to worry about no, weight cuts. He would say, you know what, given the amount of money that we received for this particular fight, WBC super lightweight title, yeah, you know what? We don't even really need to worry about all that. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to worry about all that. So shoot, you don't have to worry about, having this thing where you gotta pay off a little fee or a fee for holding the WBC super lightweight title. Don't even worry about that. Keep that money. You know what I'm saying? The fight would be bigger than belts. It would be bigger than belts out here. So go ahead and have that rematch. You'll be able to have a lot more interest in this. This will be something there where you kind of would say, hey, Ryan Garcia handed Devin Haney his first loss. Ryan Garcia was the guy to be able to knock down Devin Haney multiple times, you know? And so now it's like, okay, Devin Haney would be supposedly 100% going into the fight, going into the rematch, So this one, you would just say, hey, was this a fluke here by Ryan Garcia getting this win? Or was it something where you kind of like said that Ryan Garcia just has his number? I mean, given the history between these two fighters from the amateurs to the pros, you got something there, But for Ryan Garcia to hand Devin Haney his first loss was something, especially given the circumstances behind the fight. Given that Devin Haney was racking up rounds from rounds 2 to round 6 and 7, and then round 7, that's where it pretty much went all downhill for Devin Haney. So props for Ryan Garcia to get that. But yeah, that was the whole thing, man. Just wanted to get that quick report in and whatnot. This is just a short little thing here before I get on the move. Pretty much going back to the time, man. I got to go through that time shift, man. That's the thing. This time shift, West Coast to East Coast, be crazy sometimes, man. So I gotta see about getting a proper adjustment here. I might go live again later today. Highly unlikely, but I might. But I just wanted to get it out there once again. You have that Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia on the Zone pay-per-view have been reported out to have 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. And like I was saying earlier, this is pretty much exactly a year after Ryan Garcia had around 1.2 million pay-per-view buys against Tank Davis. So that's making Ryan Garcia have a whole lot of interest behind him. And it makes for his next fight to be a really interesting situation. That he'll be a real box office star, Jay, I received that from a couple of people within the boxing industry. There'll be a little bit more details in reference to that. But yeah, once again, 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. And that's what I received. So with that being said, that is a crazy number. That's a crazy number there. But now it pretty much like says, okay, what's going to be next, especially for Ryan Garcia, with him having more pay-per-view numbers. Like I said, more pay-per-view numbers than Canelo Alvarez in his previous few fights, more than that, Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford pay-per-view, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? But that's pretty much what I had, for y'all here for right now. Like I said before, I'll see if I could go live again later tonight. Just depends on how I feel after this long flight going back, but we'll see. But big ups for everyone that's listening live here, particularly on YouTube and then also on Twitter. There, and you do have these social media platforms that you see above me right now. Be sure to either um, follow or subscribe. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel to get more, and also hit the social media platforms. You also have the Boxing Source on Facebook too. There's about over 4,000 followers on the Facebook joint. So yeah, it's kind of building there. You know what I'm saying? But biggest for everyone listening live. Be sure to check us out later on. Shout out to Boxing News. Y'all can check out his channel. He's usually on 2 times a day. Also here, so y'all be sure to check out his channel as well. But with that being said, yeah, let me get hold up before I roll out. Let me get this last comment from the Sweet Sides Examiner. He says if Tank versus Frank doesn't do at least 1 million pay-per-view buys, then Ryan can legitimately say that he, not Tank, was the reason that their fight sold 1.2 million. There may be something, but we're going to see. We're definitely going to see. With the circumstances that have come up in reference to the fight now with Tank versus Frank. Now we're gonna see what's up and what's going down as far as like what his overall appeal is. Because the thing will be that if this Tank Davis, it doesn't matter who he fights or where he goes, the interest will always be there for Tank Davis. So now you pretty much have a barometer, and that was the thing that was leading into the fight between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney was that the first thing was that they expected Devin Haney to get the win, and with that they were going to see what these numbers were going to be, because if you were going to have a potential fight between Tank Davis and Devin Haney, then this would kind of like determine like how much money or how much interest that particular fight or that potential fight would have had. But now, given that it's Ryan Garcia that has the win, now Ryan Garcia has the momentum, he has the interest, and now it's pretty much like what's next for Ryan Garcia. So we'll see. But with that being said, I gotta get ready to get up and roll over to the airport, get on this long flight. Man, these cross country flights, man, I'm telling you, it's sometimes it takes a lot out of you. You know what I'm saying? But I'll be cool on that. Once again, big ups for everyone listening live here on YouTube and on Twitter. Like I said before, you can just support the channel on YouTube, or hit the follow button there for Twitter or X or whatever they want to call it these days. But with that being said, y'all, I'm out. Peace, y'all.